Hello, good evening to Reds around the world. This is Liverpool Echoes Blood Red podcast. It's the match edition. Match this covers Liverpool's 2-0 draw with Arsenal, which finished just a few minutes ago. And after tonight, I'm Malcolm Gill, and I'm chatting to a man sat in Anfield who watched this kind of rather strange game unfold. It's Theo Squires sitting in the main stand. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Like you say, it's a very strange game. Like Liverpool was so good in that first half, racing to a 2-goal lead with the goals in quick succession. Caught sleeping at the start of the second half, and didn't really come out for it. And then as soon as Trent Alexander-Arnold gets sent on, it's like, well, game's in the back of your minds now. It was just about his reception. Very strange afternoon with you throwing the red card, disallowed goal right at the death. An exciting one. It's just as well the season doesn't really matter for Liverpool now the title's already won.
Absolutely. It was a game which obviously meant a lot more to Arsenal. They've still actually got a little bit left to play for in the season. They don't want to slip away from second place, and they don't want the season to end in tatters after obviously the European Champions League exit. A tough one for them to start the day out, given a guard of honour here at Anfield. And it wasn't a great first half for them, even though they dominated possession. Liverpool seemed to be content with letting Arsenal have the ball and play on the break. It was almost shades of Jurgen Klopp kind of performance. They seemed to, as I say, be happy to play on the break, and Liverpool scored on the break and got chances on the break. What do you make of Liverpool's first half performance? Obviously, things changed in the second half, and we'll talk about some of those talking points in the game in a little bit. But the first half seemed a little bit of a normal football match. What did you make of Liverpool's start in the match today?
Yeah, I thought they started quite well. There's obviously the first chance for Saka, isn't there, after like 3 minutes, where he beats the offside trap brilliantly from that free kick, and probably had a little bit more time than he thought. Side foot's wide. I was a bit amused that it was him at the far post, so you think if you put a right footer on there, it probably suits him more with the angle to fire it across goal. But from that moment on, Liverpool were were in control. They created so many chances, like they were catching Arsenal out on the counter attack. And then there was from the opening goal, Robertson's great long ball through for Cody Gakpo. He gets him behind, makes a mess of it, but then Liverpool was so alert for the quick throw. Robertson's cross from Jones's throw, Gakpo heads home at the near post. But that's what was good about Liverpool in that first half. They were quick, they were alert, they were making the most of those openings. Like Gakpo had 2 or 3 chances he should have done better with. Mohamed Salah probably spurned a couple of chances where he could shoot, instead looking for his teammates. You wonder if that's because he's going for this assist record instead of a goal scoring one now. Now he's pretty confident he'll get the golden boot. Diaz had that one that was close range. He probably should have scored when he hit shots straight at Raya, but it was good from him to get out. But Liverpool had so many chances in that first half. And 2-0, it didn't flatter him. It could have been more. Alisson didn't really have too much to do. And you just thought, they've got these 2 goals. Now, how much can it be? Is it going to be 3, 4? And then we're sending out a real statement against a side that could have been 18 points behind them in the table. Instead, it stays at 15. Liverpool have to make do with not getting over 90 points this season. But you'd imagine it's not a lead they let slip if the title wasn't already won. Because they have the fans behind them, they were playing so well, they can be a bit relaxed, they can have that freedom. So maybe it's just to be expected at this time of the season when there isn't as much riding on it. Arsenal, understandably, slow starters in terms of they've had the Champions League exit. Liverpool, first time playing at Anfield as Premier League champions. But yeah, it's a strange one. You can't feel too disappointed because it's already won in terms of the league title. Like normally you throw away a 2-goal lead against the side that's second, you think what a massive missed opportunity that is. And instead we're only talking about the missed opportunity to stick the knife in more and to give real embarrassment to Arsenal that you're second, 18 points behind. But yeah, Liverpool, like I said, they played really well in that first half. It was a nice half to watch from them, passing it around well, so many good individual performances. It's just a shame they couldn't keep it up after the break.
Do you think Arne Slot will be kind of pleased with the first half, at least, with a bit of reaction from last week's game at Chelsea? Obviously, he made a few changes there. Liverpool certainly off the boil as fresh champions last week against Chelsea. They just seem to be a little bit more determined, with maybe a bit of a stronger lineup in the first half today.
Yeah, it certainly helped having that stronger 11. I'm surprised when he's made so many changes that it wasn't a case of we'll do 3 start this week, 3 start next week and stagger it. The fact it was, 6 fringe players came in last week and then they were pretty much all back out again. obviously is going to make it a little bit disjointed. It was obviously going to be stronger for Liverpool when you couldn't get that more of a starting team out. Like the only maybe surprise you can say is Curtis Jones. Could have thought Alexis McAllister would have come back into the starting 11, but then maybe he's being a bit sentimental and he's holding McAllister back to start against his former club Brighton, Liverpool's next outing. But they started and they played like the team that had been the starting 11 for the majority of the season. Connor Bradley did really well in that first half. He had the fans behind him, serenaded him, chanting his name with every thunderous tackle. And yeah, Szoboszlai played well. The defence didn't have much to do in the first half, and the front three is looking so much sharper again. Like, I know you expect Liverpool to sign a new centre forward in the summer. You can say they're not at Luis Diaz isn't the most natural centre forward, but he slid in and got a real poacher's effort there, and that the front three did look lively. As on another day, Salah walks away with a goal or an assist. So yeah, in that first half, it did look a lot like Liverpool, and it's just like I said, it's a shame they couldn't keep up, because it did look at one moment that it was going to be another statement performance, like one against Tottenham, when they can go out and go, this champions.
Do you think it maybe points to like a possibility that Liverpool's squad maybe aren't as strong as what Slot would like? Is there tends to be a little dip when he moves away from that kind of more preferred starting 11, or do you think that's just because they have more rhythm in that kind of starting flow a little bit more?
It's hard to say at the moment, because there are players in the squad that I think should have played more this season, and I'm sure a lot of supporters think should have played more this season as well. Like, there are games where Endo could have started in midfield, there are games where Elliott could have started in midfield. We can look at the strikers and go, Jota and Nunes have not been up to scratch. There isn't much you can do with the front three, but supporters will still want to see more from Federico Chiesa. And then defensively, he has rotated at the fullbacks quite a lot, but the rest of the team, he's not, for whatever reason. Then you can suspect that he maybe doesn't have the same faith in an Elliott and an Endo to do what he actually wants them to do from start to finish. And if it is about that less trust he's got in them, then he needs to rectify that this summer. He needs to go and sign players that he does have a greater trust in, that he can turn to for 20-30 minutes and they'll make an impact, or he can start them more and they'll make an impact. But you could also say that if Elliott had started more, Endo had started more, they'd be more in tune with the rest of the starting 11. There'd be more rhythm there. So then it wouldn't be a case of you see a drop-off when you put them in. It wouldn't be as disjointed. And like with these two players in particular, we've seen how good they are in the past. Like Elliott's his fifth, sixth season with Liverpool now, and he's been a real live wire from the very beginning. Endo, we saw how good he was last year. And that is why supporters wanted to see more from them. But if the manager doesn't quite fancy them, he wants to see something a little bit different, it's something they need to address in the transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think Endo could have played more of a part, if only for the reason to give Gravenberg a little bit more of a break. But ultimately, Liverpool champions, so it's difficult to argue too much with Arne Slot's kind of way of thinking there. And I definitely want to talk about some of these players who are maybe putting themselves either in the shop window or trying to impress Arne Slot towards the end of the season. I definitely want to get onto that in a minute, but I think we might as well just get the kind of elephant in the room out the way, which is Trent Alexander-Arnold and his reception today. Obviously, you were there in the stadium when the team sheet gets announced over the tannoy in the stadium. It's fair to say at the beginning there was a bit of a mixed reception at the beginning, or do you feel there was audible kind of boos? What was your, obviously this is before he comes on, what was your feeling at just before the match? How did you gauge that reception?
Yeah, it was a mixed one. Like, obviously, whenever a Liverpool player's name's read out ahead of kick-off, there is cheers for every single one. So I think there were a few cheers initially, but that might have been supporters on autopilot, as they do for every game. And then you have that second thought, oh, it's Trent Alexander-Arnold. And that was replaced then by boos and whistles and jeers. And it's like, okay, point made there. But it was still a little bit mixed. There were cheers for him too. There was at least one banner in the Kop that was in support of him. So it's difficult to say there what the real feeling was. But then we get the real impression when he is introduced in that second half. That like the fans made that perfectly clear, and creatively too, with a mixture of chants, not just boos. But yeah, it was toxic for 20 minutes once he came on. If he was in any doubt how the Liverpool supporters felt about him, before the game. He's under no illusions now. I'm not actually sure if he was on the bench when his name was read out. Like the cameras went straight to him afterwards, but it's whether he'd missed it or if he was sat in his seat at the time. But yeah, I think there was a little bit of a joke with Kostas Tsimikas when they were on the bench about the reception he would get later on. And yeah, it was what we expected, maybe what some people feared, or maybe what some people wanted. He wanted to make that point to Trent Alexander-Arnold. It is such a strange one because he's a boyhood Liverpool fan who has said he wants, in the past, that he wants to spend his entire career with this club. He wants to captain this club. And if any supporter in the stadium, they would love to be in his shoes. They would love to have won every single honour with Liverpool. They would love to be a Premier League champion with Liverpool. But you get to that point, I suppose, when Alexander-Arnold had won everything there was to win by 23, where he feels there's more, that he needs to go somewhere else, to scratch that itch. So I can understand his reasons for going, but then I can understand completely why Liverpool fans are as angry as they are with him, because any one of them would trade places in a millisecond to be in his shoes, to be vice captain of Liverpool Football Club, the club you support, winning the Premier League. And the point was made when he came on, like he was just on the sidelines and they were already chanting Steven Gerrard's name. That was the player that Trent wanted to emulate, and they were going on about Gerrard's loyalty to the club. The Scouser born and bred was that one was brought out again once he came on.
Sorry to butt in there, but I mean, I love Steven Gerrard as much as any Reds fan, but this is Gerrard who nearly moved to Chelsea twice, and he did move away from Liverpool, obviously towards the end of his career, but he moved for his own reasons. He moved because he wanted to play more football, and he could have stayed and been a bit part player, but also played under Jurgen Klopp for a little bit. But he moved for his own reasons. Trent is moving for his own reasons. This is what professional footballers do, isn't it? I mean, I'd love to play for Liverpool, but if I got to that stage, I think it's unlikely to happen at this point, but if I got to that stage, you think about it differently as a professional footballer. Like Trent he's not the first boyhood supporter who's played for his own club to move away. It happens all the time. And I mean, have you ever seen anything like that today? I don't think I've ever seen, I can't even think of another club, but let's just talk about Liverpool. Have you ever seen a Liverpool player booed on the pitch? I know we sometimes see it, when they're maybe coming on. I remember seeing Lucas Leiva getting booed coming on against Sunderland, and I thought that was sad enough, but I've never seen a Liverpool player getting booed while he's playing the match. Have you ever seen that?
No, not at all. Like usually you might get the occasional, shout or boo or whatever, but it's never as universal as it was today. Against Manchester United in January, the first game where he played so poorly after the Real Madrid bid, there was negative reaction to him that day, shall we say, but nothing like we've seen today. It's unprecedented, but then Alexander-Arnold is in an unprecedented position because all these players that have left Liverpool in the Premier League era, none of them left as Premier League champions, choosing to leave. Like Steven Gerrard, he would have loved to have got his hands on that trophy, but you think of when you've lost Luis Suarez, Xavi Alonso, Fernando Torres, Javier Mascherano, Michael Owen, all these players, it was when Liverpool weren't in that position of strength. It was, I need to take a shortcut here to go and challenge for a Champions League, to go and challenge for a Premier League. Sometimes it worked out for them, sometimes it didn't. But Liverpool are the Premier League champions. They are going to be one of the favourites to win it again next season. They're going to be one of the favourites to win the Champions League. The only thing that Trent is getting by going to Real Madrid is a different challenge, a different country, playing with his mate, Jude Bellingham. And it is something different for him. Like, we are in this era of football now where everyone of these players have been brought up on the Galacticos age, where they've grown up, either they remember it or they've watched them on YouTube, when it's like Ronaldo, Zidane, Luis Figo, David Beckham, Roberto Carlos, Casillas, all these legendary players. And when you put them in one team, I think that's why so many of this generation have that allure, that they have that desire to play for Real Madrid. And there's also the European history there, when they've won so many Champions League, European Cups, and that has always been the case. Like, players have always said that's the one club that you couldn't turn down. So there is that understanding there why, from a professional point of view, any player in this Liverpool squad would probably go, you know what, if Real Madrid wants me, I couldn't turn it down. Every single elite English club has had this moment in some point or another. Liverpool have lost Michael Owen, Steve McManaman, Arbeloa to his boyhood club, Xavi Alonso, Manchester United lost Cristiano Ronaldo, David Beckham, like Ruud van Nistelrooy, I think, as well. You can go through so many of these clubs. But it's different for Trent because Liverpool are in this position of strength, because he is the boyhood fan, because he is supposed to have been living the dream, and he has made it very public that it has been his dream for so long to be the next Liverpool captain. As recently as 2 years ago when he got the vice-captainship. So he has been put up on this pedestal from the moment he came through the academy. Like, he could be this generational talent. He could be another Gerrard, admittedly playing in a different position. And then it's like the blinkers have come off now. Supporters can't see him as godlike because he has chosen to walk away. And he's got his reasons, and that's fair enough. But they made sure that he knew that they don't agree with it. It's not something that anyone in this stadium, by the sounds of it, would have done. Like, you hear the Conor Bradley chants there, and then every single touch he had being loudly booed. There was an X-rated chant about Real Madrid as well, who you're trying to kid. I'm not going to say the X-rated bit, but I'm sure the supporters can work out which one it is. If not, have a Google, you'll recognise it. So Liverpool supporters were very creative with how they were making their point to Trent Alexander-Arnold. As I've said, I can see both sides because Konaté's out of contract next summer. Real Madrid are apparently interested in him. Real Madrid have been linked with Alexis McAllister. If these two players go at the end of their contracts, they don't get booed. Like, we've seen players in recent years go at the end of their contracts. Gini Wijnaldum, he went to Paris Saint-Germain, didn't he? He had Barcelona after him.
Yeah.
You've had Emre Can, he went to Juventus. Now, granted, these decisions were not announced before the end of the season, before they made their final appearances. But you've got to admire Trent for doing that, for fronting up and not wanting to go out the back door. But all of it pieced together has just made it a very messy, very toxic, but unprecedented situation, because you've got a player who lived his dream at Liverpool, but then at 26 years of age has decided this isn't the big dream anymore. So it'll be interesting if he actually speaks again before the end of the season about, or even about this reception he's got today, because I'd imagine he thought he was going to get it. Like, he's a Liverpool fan. He has grown up idolising this team. He knows how it felt when Michael Owen left, when Steven Gerrard nearly left, when Squires left, Alonso left, Mascherano, all the names I've just said. He knows how that felt. He knows how supporters felt betrayed, and he will have felt the same then. So he would have had an idea this reception was coming in. Because he's the Scouser in the team, it stings that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm showing my age here, but I think my first heartbreak was when Ian Rush left. And then once that's happened a few times, you just realise that these players come and go. You know what I mean? You support the football club. And, you know, once you've had your heart broken by a couple of your idols kind of leaving, then, I don't know, for me, it just washes over me a little bit more. I just see, well, you know, these players, as I say, come and go. I mean, for me, it was a little bit heartbreaking today, really, because as Liverpool fans, I think we see ourselves as something a little bit different. We see ourselves as a fan base that has like a bit more class and a bit more knowledge, a bit more grace than other teams, you know, other fan groups. And I think what we saw today is that we're not any different. I think booing your own player, for me, is unforgivable. In match, you know, do it beforehand, do it when he comes on. I don't agree with that, but if you want to do it, fair enough. But booing your own player in the match as you're playing, for me, is just unforgivable as a fan. That was a hard one to see that today. And I'd never want to see that again. It was all.
We'll never know how the game would have panned out if there hadn't been that reception, but it was a big distraction. Like, as soon as Trent's on the sideline waiting to come on, that was the talking point, that was the focus. It wasn't getting behind the team. And then moments later, Liverpool concede the equaliser. And Trent's playing him onside. It's a tight one, but he's not following Marino. But he's technically at fault. It's something he's been criticised for in the past. Now, it's not a glaring error, but there is a clear distraction there. And you can see it just changed the atmosphere in the stadium completely. It's
a strange way. It should have been another day of celebration. I mean, we're talking about it now. It's something we've spent like the past 10 minutes talking about, and it shouldn't really be that. I mean, I guess there's going to be endless column inches over the weekend and probably till the end of the season. I hope that we can enjoy the next two games Liverpool have got. I hope that can be a bit more celebratory atmosphere. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of minutes for Conor Bradley. He's put himself kind of in front of Arne Slot. Arne Slot obviously came out on Friday and said, well, Bradley's going to start. And there are a few players there who I mean, we kind of touched upon it earlier. There's a few players there who will be playing for their future ahead of Arne Slot, who's obviously going to dip into the transfer market to bring in a few players that he fancies and try and build his own team and his own image. A couple of players that are out there today who may be up for grabs next season for other clubs, possibly rumours, obviously Curtis Jones, Conor Bradley himself, Darwin Núñez, Harvey Elliott. They're the kind of players who will hopefully play in to impress Arne Slot. Do you think those 4 players, obviously we're looking at Conor Bradley, he's probably going to be the main man at right back next season, we imagine. But in terms of Curtis Jones, Darwin Núñez, Harvey Elliott, how do you see their immediate futures panning out? And Anfield, moving on, what do you make of it?
I think Curtis Jones is a valued member of the squad, and not sure there's any suggestion of him moving on. They'll need a homegrown player anyway. Yes. Harvey Elliott, I think it comes down to the player himself and what the interest is and how concrete it is, because this is a boyhood Liverpool fan who would give anything and everything to play for this club. He will get frustrated at one point if he is not playing, and maybe there will be a difficult decision at some point, whether it's in the summer, next summer in January, where he's not getting the game time he wants. But then maybe pre-season can be a reset for him. He can catch on a slot eye, he can get more of an opportunity going into the new campaign, because injury did hamper him this year. And then by the time he's back, we're in December. Szoboszlai, McAllister, etc. have been so good in that midfield. If it's not broken, you're not going to change it. Núñez, I reckon he's gone. I think a lot of people reckon he's gone. And he wasn't that great when he came on. He had a couple of poor touches. It was just a Darwin Núñez performance. Liverpool needs to do better than him really.
Yeah, I think the fact that Luis Diaz continually starts as a centre forward when maybe that's not his strongest position, I think that's a good indication.
It's telling, isn't it?
It is. Arne Slot has seen whatever he's seen from Núñez, both playing in games and in training, obviously. And I think I like a lot of people. Better. I like him. He's likable. He creates buzz when he comes on, but ultimately, when he's in a one-on-one with a goalkeeper, your money's on the goalkeeper. And I think he's had a lot of chances.
He's not improved in these 3 years. You can see the goal misses compilations, and it's the same thing time and time again over the 3 years. And yes, Liverpool won the Premier League title at a canter this season, but you'd expect Man City to be stronger next season, Arsenal to be stronger, Chelsea to be stronger. It's very much an open title race going into next season, because so many of these sides need to dip into the transfer market. It could be decided by fine margins. Like Liverpool are a side in the recent years have lost the title by a solitary point. They cannot be coming to April, March, May time and going, one Darwin Núñez misses cost us there. Like in another season, Darwin Núñez's miss at Aston Villa could have been critical in this title race.
Yeah.
And he's got his big moments. He scored 2 against Brentford, but he's just been too ineffective this year. I don't think the manager particularly fancies him. The fact that he's barely started in the last few months, it's telling. And the fact that Luis Diaz starts up front in front of him. And if Liverpool want to go and sign, I don't know, Alexander Isak, for example, or whoever, like it's big money players, there are some big strikers who are going to be up for grabs. They're going to cost a lot of money. Núñez is an easier player to move on and get a good fee for. We know there's interest from Saudi Arabia. AC Milan have been linked. I think Napoli have been linked recently as well. There seems to be a lot of interest in him, despite that rawness. I'm sure it's fine for a lot of clubs, but the Liverpool is striving to be out. They need that little bit more. It wasn't the best cameo appearance from him. It wasn't the worst, but you still want that little bit more, because you send on an £85 million striker, you expect them to pop up and score the winner. And did anyone ever have any thought that Núñez was going to do that? No, they didn't. Yeah,
I think we've all seen enough from him. I think he's still got a good career ahead of him. I think he's not at the right club. He's not in the right situation. He's not in the right league or whatever. I think his story is somewhere else. But yeah, I also see him moving on there. I mean, how do you see Liverpool's last 2 games of the season like panning out? So Arne Slot has got 2 more games here. How does he approach them? Are they basically 2 glorified friendlies for Slot? Is he looking to get maximum points? Is he looking to experiment with the team? I mean, what's your take on how he's going to approach these last couple of weeks as Premier League champions?
I just realised I haven't covered Conor Bradley there, have I? You asked me for 4 and I only gave you 3, so I'll say Conor Bradley and then I'll go into it. Bradley did all right, like good defensively at times, caught out once or twice in the second half as well.
Nice and physical at times in the first half.
Nice and physical, definitely, and that's what we've seen from him a number of times this season. He gets forward well as well. But as soon as he
stronger facial hair than when he first broke into the side. You got to notice there.
That's true as well. But as soon as he gets that yellow card, you know he's walking the tightrope. He's going to be coming off sooner rather than later. So there's still that rawness to his game, because it was a pretty clumsy foul, was not on Lewis Skelly. So it'll be interesting to see what Liverpool do in the transfer market for that right back position, because you could say you've got Gomez, Quansah, even Curtis Jones, who can play there if you want a backup to Connor Bradley, but you prefer someone more natural to play there. And there is a lot that Liverpool could need to do. We've just said they'll need a striker. We've not mentioned it, but they will need a left back, could need a centre back, could need a midfielder, could need another 2 or 3 forwards in total if a Diaz goes, for example. So then it's when you're weighing all that up, do we have enough to go and get a right back as well? And I think Frimpong's got an affordable release clause. Not sure how concrete Liverpool interest is in him, despite reports. So this is what these games are going to be for Bradley, to have that audition. Like, you'd expect most of the team can chop and change. But these 2 games, I think 3 games if you include today, is having a look at Connor Bradley, going, can he have 90 minutes, 90 minutes, 90 minutes, or if you're going to bring Trent on, 70 minutes, etc., and see how he can rise to the challenge, see if he can avoid injury, make an impact, and go, yes, I am ready to be a starting right back for Liverpool. Trent, around the similar age, was probably sharing it a little bit with Joe Gomez, so it can take time, and they might need to sign someone who's more proven, but he's still such a good player. And at these 2 games, I'd imagine Brighton will see a similar side to what we saw at Chelsea. It's an away game, it's Monday night, and it's a good chance to have a look at Endo's, Elliott's again. Treat it almost like a League Cup game. Liverpool have already been to Brighton away in the League Cup, and they won with a much changed side. But then Crystal Palace, I'd imagine it'll be like today, where they go pretty strong. You want to put on a show in front of the supporters. You're going to get your hands on the trophy at the end of it. You want it to be that celebration, and it's a reward for those players in front of the fans. As I think I mentioned earlier, McAllister, I'd imagine, because he was on the bench today, you can say he'll start against Brighton. They've probably been a bit sentimental there, letting him go back to his former club as a Premier League champion.
He won't be getting booze.
He won't get booed because they love him, don't they? He won a World Cup with them, and he was superb for them. Maybe we just needed Trent to sign a new contract in October with a big release clause, and he could have gone here, and everyone would have been slightly happier. Maybe not too thrilled, but I'd say Tsimikas, you'd probably expect to see him against Brighton. Maybe Quansah comes back in, Elliott, Endo. Salah's always going to start because he's still chasing this goal contributions record and the assist record. Like, there were a number of chances today where he could have shot and chose to pass it. So I think probably screams that he wants those assists so he can get those records. But then it'll be, does Jota get a start up front? Does Nunes get a start up front? Which one of Gakpo and Diaz do you go for? And poor Federico Chiesa left out the squad altogether today. But his chant that's been debuted this week, really catchy one. That was ringing around Anfield on loop for a good few minutes before Trent came on.
So the player's not even in the squad. More minutes than the Paul. Yeah. I mean, I'll wrap up a minute because I imagine you're going to get kicked out of the main stand soon enough. But on Chiesa there, I mean, what's that lad got to do to get a couple of minutes? Has he got a future at Anfield? I mean, I always feel like when he comes on, he has some kind of impact. I always think he's done enough to kind of get the benefit of the doubt in certain games and get a little bit more game time. Or, I mean, how do you view that transfer briefly?
It's a very strange one, because if Liverpool weren't Premier League champions at a canter, we'd probably be scrutinising Arne Slot more for not using him more. Yeah. But he's got Mohamed Salah in front of him, so he's not going to play in the position he was signed to play on the right wing. But we know he can play on the left. And in Italy, he played down the middle as well. And we've seen Jota struggle this season. We've seen Nunes struggle this season. So why hasn't Chiesa been given a go down the middle? And it could be because it's like a big physical challenge. He's had to play catch-up, having been injured when he came in, not had a full pre-season. And maybe he can go into next season. He just needs a full pre-season and he'll be okay. But for whatever reason, Arne Slot doesn't seem to quite fancy him at the moment, or all season long. Like, this is a game that means nothing in terms of Liverpool have already won the Premier League. And he wasn't on the bench, and a player you know is leaving who is not part of the future was and came on for 20 minutes. And then you've had games where they won the league 5-1 by beating Tottenham Hotspur. If ever there was a moment to stick him on for 10 minutes, you're 5-1 up. What have you got to lose? And he doesn't get it. And there's other, like West Ham when Nunes was ill, was it? He's not on the bench, or he doesn't get off the bench there. There's so many opportunities where Slot could have turned to him and he doesn't. So as we've been saying, I think the writing's on the wall for Darwin Núñez. Not starting to, he felt it for a while, the writing's on the wall for Chiesa as well. Maybe he can have a big pre-season. He can force his way into the plans. If a forward goes along with it, Núñez, there could be more of an opening for him. But it's been a very frustrating season for him. He is obviously a talented player, but he hasn't had much of an experience in this country. Tsimikas in his first year, and he's been a good squad player for 2-3 years. But it's different when you're an attacking player, isn't it?
But I think one thing that is similar with Tsimikas and Chiesa is their attitude. I mean, you wouldn't really begrudge him if Chiesa was speaking to Italian press and saying, "I'm not getting the game time." But it doesn't look like he's moaned really, as far as I've seen once. The same with Tsimikas. He accepts his role there. I'm sure there will come a point there where Chiesa will want to make some kind of more of an impact. But I think that attitude of those two players has been excellent throughout the season. I think there's some other players like that can maybe learn it to from the humble kind of approach from both of them. They're happy to be part of the squad and take their chance when it comes, even though those chances haven't come very often, I'm afraid. But as you say, when you got Mohamed Salah in front of you in the pecking order, a player who is never that keen on being substituted, you're not going to get ahead of him many times. So, I mean, we'll kind of wrap it up now. Let you go home.
I've still got plenty of work to do, mate.
Oh yeah, I'll show you.
Press conferences and everything. I've got to upload this podcast too.
It's a tough life, isn't it? But
I know.
Let's touch quickly. I bet you're looking forward to the end of the season, because obviously it'll be a little bit of a time for you, and it's been such a busy time. And I mean, have you personally? I guess you've enjoyed this season. You've had a lot to write about, and obviously seeing Liverpool do well is very positive for a Liverpool FC journalist. It's been great.
I'm not even waiting for the end of the season. I'm off on holiday for a week and a half tomorrow. I'm going to Italy for the F1.
Really?
Back for the Palace game, for the trophy presentation, and for the parade on the bank holiday Monday. But yeah, it's been an amazing season, hasn't it? Like, it's exceeded everyone's expectations. I think after seeing Liverpool win a trophy last year, stumble in the title race, lose like Jurgen Klopp, everyone would have taken top four, maybe Champions League quarterfinals, semi-finals, have a go in one of the cup competitions. No one expected that second Premier League title, that 20th time to be champions of England. And it hasn't been pretty at times. It hasn't been the most exciting football at times. But then there have been so many big moments as well. Like one of the ones I'll cherish is Tottenham away, 6-3. What a game of football. And it's like, why couldn't it be like this every week? Just so many goals. It was so exciting. And there's been so much to write about. And even now, when the season's done for Liverpool, they've won the league, we've got plenty to write about with Trent Alexander-Arnold. You say we'll get a bit of downtime when the season's over. Well, no, because we're expecting a busy transfer window. We can go through a good half a dozen plus players of this squad you expect to move on. Another half a dozen players or positions you think Liverpool might need to strengthen in. There's no rest for the wicked, so I'll be enjoying my time off in Italy, but I'll be back for the post-match podcast on the last day of the season. But yeah, it's just been a great time reporting on Liverpool, and it has been pretty much since I started, 2018, when you think won a Champions League, won a Premier League, won 2 domestic cups, won another Premier League, a couple of more Champions League finals in there as well. More of the same next season, please, Arne Slot.
Well, you're obviously a good luck charm to the Reds, so long may it continue. Have you booked your flight to Yokohama, going up to Japan with the Reds?
No, I'd imagine I'll be doing that from the office up at ungodly hours. I think we're sending Paul Gorst to Japan for that one. Don't quote me on it, but I think he's got the nods. We only send one for pre-season, but that means you'll get more coverage from us when pre-season starts because of the time difference. So between us and Ian Doyle as well, I imagine we've got most of the 24 hours covered.
What a squad. What a squad. Well, we'll leave it there. Enjoy yourself in Italy. Maybe you could have a word with Chiesa, see if you can stay in his house. I'm sure it's not being used at the moment. So, okay, enjoy the final 2 weeks of the season. And yeah, nice one, mate. And up the Reds.
Cheers, mate. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.